Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to Crossplay, where we get together and talk about all the video game goodness we can handle each and every week right here on the Whatnauts.com. It is Saturday, May 2nd, 2020, and this is episode 24. Coming up on today's show, we're going to be talking about Summer Game Fest, the one that Geoff Keighley announced this past week. We're going to be talking about Assassins Creed Valhalla and the updated release dates for The Last of Us Part 2. But we will get to all of that in just a sec. For now, my name is Kyle Springer, and I am joined, as always, by Ignacio Rojas.
Howdy.
And this week we have a special guest joining us for the first time on the podcast. If you guys are a fan of Kind of Funny's content, then you know his work. You have seen all of the GIFs that he's made. We have Corey Cudney joining us.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. That's right, the GIF master.
Exactly. It worked out perfectly because you posted on Twitter. You were like, hey guys, I have a lot of time on my hands. If you guys want me on your podcast, let me know. And Ignacio saw that and was like, hey, we should message him. And I was like, yes, absolutely. Corey would be perfect.
Nice. Well, I'm glad you did. Like you said, I got a lot of time on my hands, and I'm looking for some new guests for season 2 of my Just an Editor podcast that you can listen to on all podcast services. So I was like, you know what? I got to get back in the groove. I got to throw myself back out there and get back in the podcasting way. So yeah, I'm happy y'all are my first podcast back probably since, I don't know, sometime last fall with my last interview.
Wow, what an honor.
Well, thank you for joining us. Yeah,
thank you for being here.
Yeah, no problem.
If you had to kind of give someone an update on who you are, what you do, why you do it, who are you? Who is Corey Cudney?
Yeah, so if you don't know me, hey guys, what's up? My name is Corey Cudney, like you said. My 9 to 5, my first foot out the door is I'm a video editor for a little independent studio here in Austin, Texas, named Certain Affinity, where we're known for developing games or co-developing games like Halo, Call of Duty, Doom. So we have a lot of really cool stuff that we work on. But then my moonlighting gig, what I like to do on the side also, like you mentioned earlier, is the Kind of Funny GIFs. Most of the time, if you've used a Kind of Funny GIF, I should say, chances are that I made it, which just happened completely by accident. But there are some really good ones that I also didn't make. But also, like I said earlier, I host a podcast called the Just an Editor podcast, where we bring on editors from the movies, TV show, producers and everything like that. We got on the editor for all the Avengers and Captain America movies. Jeff Ford was on earlier.
Oh, wow.
It was super cool, and I just hit him up, and he totally was down for it. And so I like to keep my plate full. Is what I try to do.
There you go. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Dude, your gift making abilities is so good. I don't know how is it that every Kind of Funny show, whatever it is, you always get some gifts out of it, and so fast. As it's happening, you get them so fast. You're so good at it.
Well, thank you so much, Ignacio. That means a lot. I like I said, it just totally happened by accident, and then Greg jumped on the opportunity and made a Google Drive for me to drop stuff in, and so it's like I just try to build up a library and everything, so that way, hopefully on Twitter and Facebook and everything, if you type in Greg Miller or Portillo or Nick Scarpino or Tim Geddes, something will pop up, and hopefully it will be any and all situations you can think of, from Diet Coke to Oreos to Shawn Michaels, anything pops up.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, I also wanted to point out that you are a big comic book nerd, like me.
Yes. I'm actually down on it right now. I need to jump back into it, especially with Marvel doing all that really cool stuff, where they released all their, a lot of famous books for free on Comixology and everything. So there's a lot of good content out right now. I know they're trickling stuff out with Diamond being out of commission for a little bit, but yeah, no, I've been reading back up on my homeboy Flash. You got to keep it.
Nice. Are you keeping up with the show too?
So they just like the last 2 weeks. I don't know if y'all watch it, but like the last 2 weeks have been. Yeah, so it's like they took a weird break. I felt like they were also kind of hit by this unexpectedly, like we all were. It felt like we had just come back from a season break, and then they were like, "Oh, here's some reruns, like to give us some padding time." And I personally have not been a huge fan of the Iris caught in the Mirrorverse storyline, and so coming back from it, I think from the episode descriptions, it's mainly been following that. So I actually haven't caught them live, but CW Seed online does a great job keeping and archiving the episodes online, and it still supports CW and the creators and everything. So I'll probably do that before too long. I'll run out of something to watch and click on over.
Good stuff. Well, let's hop into talking about some video games. Let's throw this one to Ignacio. What have you been playing this week, Ignacio?
Well, I finally finished 7 Remake after all these weeks. Like I said before, it's so good. And once you get to the end, it goes from great to fucking mind-blowingly great.
Right?
All the things they do. I'm a huge Kingdom Hearts fan, and it's so Kingdom Hearts.
Yes,
good way to me.
That's exactly what I told my brother.
It goes so Kingdom Hearts at the end, and it's so great.
Corey, you've played it too, then?
Yes, yeah, I ate it up. I loved it to death. I like Ignacio was saying, I was beating it and I was loving it, and then you get to the end and you're like, oh my god, this is amazing. I made the mistake of trying to cram the last like 6 hours at the same time, so I actually had to give up right at the end of like chapter 17 and pick it up the next day. And with a fresh face, I'm so glad I did that. I woke up and like had breakfast, and the first thing I did was finish Final Fantasy, and I was like, this game is so good.
Yeah. That was pretty much the same thing with me. I stopped like right when you get. I'm not gonna spoil it, but like right when you get to when you're about to go, like it's like, okay, I step into this next thing, and this is about to be the end game, and I stopped like right there, slept on it. Woke up the next day and was just like, I need to get back in. This was amazing. And then it blew my mind. I was like, this is so cool. I love it.
Yeah, to me, I got to that part pretty late, like, I don't know, past midnight. And I got there, and I thought before getting there, I said to myself, I'm going to sleep now. It's too late. But I got there, and I'm like, no, I'm doing this. Let's go.
Can't stop.
Let's go all the way through. Can't stop here. Can't stop here.
Good stuff.
But yeah,
good stuff.
Great. It's a great game. It's way more from what I expected the game to be. It isn't a straight up remake of the original game. It does so much more than that.
Yeah, they do such a great job of taking those expectations and evolving them and everything to make a much more meaningful experience as you play and everything. Even just, I mean, in my opinion, how they took the core combat and like still transferred a lot of the principles where it's like you throw up cure, for example, but if like the enemy attacks you before you can throw it up, it'll stop you. So
I hate it when that happens.
Oh my god, I hate it so much. So it's
Stop
like they
attacking me, you dick! God damn it!
It is so much, and like once it clicks with you, and you're like, oh, like I should be swapping and like distracting somebody with this character while this character heals, and like swapping and triggering abilities and stuff. You feel like you're like a master juggler by the end of it. But there's like a great example is that first Reno fight where it's one-on-one, and I was like, I just can't beat this guy, but it's my fault. Like it's all on me.
Yeah,
but
no,
I
get it.
can't do it. So I love when games do stuff like that, where it's all on the player, and it's up to you to learn the enemies, the tricks, and everything like that, and trying to take advantage of the combat system that they give you.
Yeah, that's what I was telling Kyle the other day. That it's not that the bosses themselves are hard. It's that you have to learn their patterns. You have to learn how to beat them in their game.
Yeah, it's very. I hate to say this. I'm going to sound like one of those people, but it's very Dark Soulsy in that regard, where it's like, look, man, I'm just going to dodge a lot and learn this guy's attack patterns, and then once I know his attack patterns, I know when to block and stuff and bait him in and stuff. So,
which is interesting for me because I'm not a fan really of the Dark Souls style combat. I kind of want to play how I want to play, and that's usually just button mashing. Just like, attack. But I really liked what they did with this. It still pissed me off, but it was still like, this makes sense instead of just like, I need to like counter the right move and do this one specific thing. Like there was a little bit of leeway still. Like if you still didn't get the exact trick, you could maybe get lucky and like, okay, if I keep using potions and cure and who knows what, then maybe I can get by. But what they had there was fantastic with the combat.
Yeah, for sure. From the outside, it would seem like the combat itself is very button mashy, and that you could. It looks like you could go by just button mashing, but as you go through, and especially when you get to the end, you start to learn that no, that won't help you just button mashing. You have to be proactive. You have to. Okay, so I start attacking with this guy, then I switch to say Barret and have him shoot him, and then switch to Aerith and use a magic attack so that it gets more staggered, and then back to Cloud and use his ability and get the stagger down. And you have to build up a strategy and a flow, and I really love that. By the end, you have to get the flow, and you get to the point that the flow becomes so natural.
Yeah, for better or worse, I noticed that whoever you're controlling is who the enemy is targeting, which at first was like such a huge nuisance for me. I was like, why are you doing this? And then by the end, once you get used to it, like you're saying, you swap to Barret and you like pop him a couple times with Barret, and then you swap back and wait for an ATB meter to fill up or whatever. So yeah, swapping and prioritizing is the name of the game with that one.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you even have to use that to your advantage. Having the enemy target who you're controlling. For example, at the beginning, I was having the problem with the guards that have their shields. Yeah. Because if you're just using one character, you have to find a way to get behind them and then attack them. But then I figured out, hey, if I have two characters, why don't I start with take Cloud, and the guard will start facing me, and then switch to Barret, and he will be behind him, start shooting at them. And when the guard stops aiming at Barret, I switch back to Cloud and then attack them, and it became so easy to deal with them.
Yeah, it's those little strategies that really make the gameplay pop in such a great way, where you're like, it's such a small thing, but you walk away from it going like, man, I'm a badass. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah,
indeed. So it looks like both of you have also been playing the original Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
Corey, how far are you in the game?
So I actually beat it. Well, so I cheated. Okay, so for anybody playing
on our podcast,
I know I feel bad about it. I feel it's been a sore subject, man. So if you have the PS4 version, okay, you can take advantage of the little cheat codes that they give you. So you can, if you press in like both of the thumbsticks, you'll get. I can't remember what both of those.
It's no random counters.
Yeah, no random encounters. I used the hell out of that. So it really makes things go fast. And if you haven't played Final Fantasy VII ever or in a little while, your character moves slow as heck. and you're walking through these environments, and it's, random encounters are what we all know, love of random encounters. And so, to do that, turns on random encounters, you can click the left thumbsticks to ×3 speed, so you can go through a lot of the overworld a lot easier. And then on the right thumbstick will give you full health and then full MP, and you can still get one shot. Yeah, and you can still get one shot. So if you just don't have the health available to take a hit, you'll still die. But if you take a hit, it'll show the health go down, and then it'll go back up. Mm-hmm. Well, I played all the way through the game, got 26 hours in, and I was like, awesome, cool. Made it to the end fight of Sephiroth, and all my characters were like level 50. I was feeling good, and I get there, and it is immediately clear that level 50 is not high enough. And I am getting just trounced. I get it to... And so to clarify a little bit on the really cheater pumpkin eater one of the full health and the full AP and everything, I was using that in the most dire of circumstances, because you still have your pride. You can still get trophies and stuff, but it's like I don't want to have to use that. I want to be able to get through the game and have my materia set and everything like that, and I actually feel like I experienced it. So I didn't use that much. But if a boss was giving me a hard time, so like the safer Sephiroth section, for example, I had it turned on all the time. And I walked in with like 4 Phoenix Downs, not even close to enough. And, you're stuck in this cave, and I just get trounced. He's one-shotting my team, and I'm like, you know what? I've made it through the whole thing. The only thing I'm not going to get out of this is the last cutscene and then the gold trophy for beating the game. So I'll just watch the end cutscene. So I finished the entirety of Final Fantasy VII, but I didn't beat Sephiroth. I got to the last phase of Sephiroth, and I still didn't beat him. And I was like, it's either me going back, like restarting the game pretty much, because once you're in that cave, you can grind in the cave, but there's no way for me to buy new Phoenix Downs, So,
right.
So it's like, there's just no way out of this for me, and I don't feel like redoing the whole game. So yeah, I beat it, and I beat it in theory, but not in practice. Not in practice. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Sometimes that's what you have to do.
Yeah, still have to walk away.
Who knows? Because sometimes, if you walk away for a while and come back to it, maybe you'll get lucky. Who knows?
Yeah. That's one of my friends was like, man, I bet you can cheese it or something. And I'm like, I just don't even know, man. Like, I just don't know.
With 4 Phoenix Downs, I don't know how.
Yeah. It's just
any amount of luck will help you.
And he can turn you into a frog. I don't have any of the things to undo the frog state. Like, there's that item that will revert it. And it's like, I don't have any of those on my character. So I'm also playing Final Fantasy VI on the Vita through the PS1 Classics. And so now I feel like I'm like over leveled, because I'm like grinding. I'm like, I'll be damned if this happens to me in this one. And it's like even slower, and they hold your hand like even less, because that game's from '94. And so it's like, it's crazy. And I love games like this to go back, because for better or worse, games a lot nowadays, if you don't know where you're going for 3 seconds, there's going to be an Aerith or somebody that's going to be like, oh, hey, I think we need to go this direction. And I'm like, I know, I'm exploring. Okay, chill. Like,
I'm looking for items.
Yeah, and 6 definitely doesn't do that. I'm in the middle of a forest right now, and a couple of NPCs in the towns are like, oh, go to this mountain. And I'm like, I can't even find this mountain. So I'm playing it, and I'm digging it. I'm like 5 hours in, and Final Fantasy VII was pretty awesome as well, because I'd never beaten that one either.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
I've only played the Midgar section, so that's okay. That's it.
Yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised at, obviously they add a ton in Remake, but the parts that are the same from Remake and 7, I was amazed at how like faithful the recreation was. It was amazing.
Indeed.
Yeah, no, for me, I had started 7 a while back when it came to the Switch, But now after playing remake, I decided to go back, give it another try. I started over again. I just got to the part where you're going to Reactor 5 and you just jumped out of the train,
Oh,
which
gotcha.
is around where I left it the last time. But yeah, I played it yesterday. Yesterday I got till you first get to the slump, and then I went back and to remake and tried to finish the first level on hard difficulty.
Oh gosh.
And yeah, it is amazing how it translated so much into the remake. So much of the original, how much they kept, and yet they added so much more.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, you can see exactly. Hey, I just read this on the original, and now the character is saying it. Or hey, this background looks exactly how I'm seeing it now on remake. Just in a modern way.
Yeah,
So,
it's pretty cool.
It is very cool. It's very cool.
Indeed. So I got to finish up playing Bloodroots this week.
Finally.
Finally. I have to give a shout out to Pop Agenda for giving us the code for that one to play it.
Nice.
And I really enjoyed it. It was a good, really fun game. It's one that I could take in like small chunks. It's hyper violent. It just has a fun look, a fun feel to it. But I especially liked the ending of this game, which really isn't an ending at all. It was the beginning of the game.
Oh, nice.
Maybe.
Oh,
Like a trippy thing. I like it.
Yeah,
Looks
it's neat.
Yeah,
It's neat.
looking at screenshots, I forgot that it looks like it has an awesome aesthetic to it.
Very much
wait.
so.
So, how did you like the ending? Did you like the gameplay of it? Did you like the story, or just the fact that it kind of loops from what I'm taking out of what you said?
Yeah, just the idea. Like, I don't think I've ever really seen that in a video game. I'm not gonna spoil the story, but like, yeah, it like the opening scene of the game is also the last scene of the game.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
So yeah, it is this big like looping thing, and it's like, whoa, this is really neat. So that was good. That was fun. But I also started playing Resident Evil 2 Remake for the first time.
Finally.
I am baby, and I am terrified, and I am scared, and I hate this.
So, how much have you played? Because you get it recently.
Yeah. So I picked it up on PlayStation 4 in their big in Japan sale. It was like $23. So I was like, hell yeah, I will pick it up. I've played for 2.5, 3 hours so far. I've got 2 of the medallions. I put the arm in the statue with the book, and I got the like red scepter thing. And then I went to go see. What was that?
No, I was gonna ask. That's still in the police station, right?
Yeah, I'm still in the police station. I saw, what was her name? Claire. I saw her after the helicopter crashed, and that's kind of where I am now. I'm like shortly after that.
Have you met Mr. X?
No, haven't met Mr. X yet, and I don't want to. So he can stay at home if he wants.
Don't give it to you.
Yeah, right.
I had never touched a Resident Evil game before too, and it was such a like revelation. I was like, this game is so good. Just like the way that you do the puzzles and everything, and it's amazing. I dove into that.
Yeah, I'm liking it. I'm still kind of scared and terrified, but now I feel like I've spent enough time in the initial sections that I'm just like, okay, that's a zombie. I know what that is now. Like
Yeah.
those aren't scary. And so now I'm like just waiting for the next thing. I technically saw my first liquor,
Oh,
but that I don't feel like was as scary as I thought it was going to be.
did you confront it?
I did. I killed it.
It did attack you.
It did.
Oh, well.
I also had a shotgun, and I killed it.
Nah, I mean, just wait till it catches you with few bullets and not just one of them.
Yeah, I was about to say, for the most part of the game, there really weren't an issue for me. There's one specific case that I can think of in my head where I ran into where there was two of them in a laboratory setting, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is crazy." It's just, but like I agree. For the most part, when it's just one, it's
They're
not
fine,
too bad. But like you said, if you are low on ammo, you're kind of screwed. You're like, I'm gonna run.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a shotgun full of shells, you could just unload it on them.
Yeah.
But if you got nothing, oh boy.
Yeah, they're a pain.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty wild the level of remakes we're getting, because we got Resident Evil 2 remake, 3 remake, now 7 remake. It's pretty cool how we've gotten to a point with remakes that they are doing so much more than just redoing the game, just giving them better assets or HD-fying like we saw before. Now we've gone a step above that, and we've gotten these incredible games that really modernize the games as if they weren't old games but new games. And I also like that we've gone past now like SNES nostalgia, and we've moved on to PS1 nostalgia. Because there are some gems in the PS1 I'd like to see remastered.
Yeah, it's crazy because I feel like when you get into this generation of the N64 and the PS1 and stuff, it's like, okay, we can't just port this over anymore because these games are ugly now. So we definitely have to completely like remaster, remake, whatever it takes to get up to it. Whereas like, a lot of those, like you mentioned, the SNES games and stuff, those art styles really hold up, and they have like such a diehard fan base that'll like chew you apart if you touch it. So it's like now we got, to the Resident Evil 2 and stuff where people are like, oh, I love the gameplay, but like Leon's face is like 4 pixels wide. So, and it, like you said, it really does enhance the experience. Luckily I haven't seen a remake, like a high profile remake come out. I guess 3 recently is probably the most like mixed people have been on a remake.
Well, but that has more to do with the original game.
Yeah.
On the remake aspect, it is at par with Resident Evil 2 remake. It's just that what they had to work with was what ended up dragging it down.
Yeah, I've heard that from a ton of sources, is that it's like, look, if you didn't like Resident Evil 3, you probably aren't going to like Resident Evil 3. Big surprise.
Yeah. I mean, it's still good. It's still enjoyable for what you do there. It's just that remake 2 is better.
Yeah.
Longer.
So good.
Yeah.
Indeed. Well, I've really only played like that first section, so I don't have too much else to say on Resident Evil 2. But last but not least, Ignacio, sounds like you've jumped back into Dragon Ball Z Kakarot.
We're going back, baby.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, got back into Kakarot. So the DLC just came out recently, and I was waiting until finishing 7 to get into the DLC. So since that happened, of course, I jumped into it. And for what was there, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed what they included. Granted, I wish it would have been more. But like I said, I enjoyed what was there. So what the DLC was or is so you can jump into it at any time. So the story element of it is that you get called, Goku and Vegeta get called into the planet of the God of Destruction, and there the Whis, who's the assistant of the God of Destruction, tells you, hey, I got this guy over here, the god that wants someone to fight with. So I'll help you train. I'll help you get stronger because I know you guys like to get stronger, so that you can eventually give him a good fight. So what you do in the DLC is just you are given these challenges. I think it would be the closest thing. You get these challenges where if you beat them, you get an object, an item that gives you an experience boost. It gives you experience. So what you do is you finish the challenge, you get the item, and then that helps you level up. For each challenge, I would say it gives you like 3, 4, or 5 levels. So you progress through the challenges until you eventually have to get to level 250, which is a required level to finally fight the God of Destruction.
Goodness gracious.
Oh, wow. So it's kind of like a mode of light from Destiny in that regard, where they're like, you're not high enough yet, but we'll give you this XP boost.
Well, when they first announced that you needed level 200 and 250, I was like, how am I supposed to get there? I platinumed the game and my best characters were at 107. How am I going to get there? And yeah, it turns out you just finished the challenges and they gave you a ton of XP that will end up getting you there. And what's interesting about the DLC is that you can start it at any time in the game. You could start it at the beginning of the game. So theoretically, you could start it at the beginning when you're level 1 and just go straight up to level 250.
Oh, that's
before
cool.
starting the game.
Interesting. Could you like start it and then go back to the main game?
Oh no, yeah, you can. Yeah, you can pop in and out whenever you want.
Okay, so it's like a good way to level up.
Yeah, so the game never had a good way to grind. There wasn't really a reasonable or realistic way to grind in the game. You would never get enough experience for it to be worthwhile. So now this seems like they added a way to grind up all the levels you want.
That's interesting.
I like that idea because that is, like I mentioned earlier with like Destiny, where it's like if you want to hop into a specific expansion, or like MMOs in general, I guess, if you want to hop into a specific expansion, you can just jump right into that and not have to worry about all the introductory stuff. So that's a really cool way. I kind of hope that other single player games do stuff like that. Like, I don't know, Borderlands 3, when they're releasing new stuff, if a new player wants to come in and join his buddy in the new DLC pack or whatever, I think that's a really cool idea.
Yeah. And like I said, I wish one thing I wish they would have included was more of a story. Like at first you would have thought that this DLC would have been them doing the story of Battle of Gods. Yeah. It isn't that. It is the same characters there, but it doesn't follow the story at all. It kind of would conflict with the story of Battle of Gods in a way. But yeah, what I enjoyed was that aspect of you can go and try fight the Virus, the God of Destruction, at any time you want it. I tried it when I first popped up, and even for me, even at 250, he beat my ass so many times. So yeah, at 107, there would have been no way.
Oh my gosh, yeah, he would have just flicked you, and you'd have been like, oh god.
Yeah,
you out of my face, you flee.
Which would be kind of canon.
I was gonna say very canonical.
Yeah, but yeah, and like I said, even though there wasn't much of a story, there was kind of a story of you wanting to become stronger and eventually be good, give a good fight to the God of Destruction. And I like the feeling of progression they gave you. And the fight at the end was one of the best fights in the game, I would say. It was so hard, but it was so pretty. The amount of new animations they gave to the DLC, I wasn't expecting it. They gave a lot of new animations, and it has some of the prettiest finishers in the game. finishes in
That's
the
cool.
yeah. So what was there, I enjoyed it. Do I wish there would have been more? Yeah, but I still enjoyed it every moment.
Do you think this hints at Dragon Ball Z Kakarot 2? Where they do like the storyline of Super or something?
I don't know. When you go in to choose the DLC, you can see that there will be 2 more DLCs to come.
Okay.
So I can't tell exactly what they'll do.
Okay.
And I don't know if they'll be able to do Kakarot 2 because I don't know how you would differentiate it with this one. This game already had a lot of it, of the story. It already went very like into specific parts of the story that I don't know what else you could add to make it a different game.
I gotcha. Well, that's good. I'm glad you're enjoying that one still, though.
Yeah. Like I said, it's now my favorite game of all time, and I'm glad I'm getting more of it.
Really? That's awesome to hear.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so what was it? Just a general question for Kakarot. Was it just re-experiencing the story for you, or was it the gameplay, or a mix of all of them, or what was it?
What's my favorite game of all time?
Yeah.
Well, I'm a huge Dragon Ball fan overall, so
awesome.
That kind of has to do with it. Mm-hmm. But before Kakarot, I would say my favorite game was Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3.
Oh, good choice.
But the amount of love Kakarot shows to not only Dragon Ball Z, but Dragon Ball in general, the amount of love it shows, it's great as a Dragon Ball fan to see it. And that's why I would say it's my favorite game of all time.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, I was just kind of wondering because I, like you were saying, I'm a huge Dragon Ball fan, and I personally dropped it about halfway in Frieza Saga. It was just a little too slow for me, but I can totally see where it's like the love of the story can get you through it. I can't remember what game it was, but it was a classic gamer moment of like it didn't have my attention fully, and then something else came out, or something. Yeah, and I was like, I'm going to that. I'll pick this back up later, and then I never touched it again. So.
Yeah, I would say that Kakarot has a lot of flaws, and I get why someone would jump out of it. But like I said, it showed so much love to the series that I loved it so much.
Nice. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's move on to housekeeping, and then we will get into the news of the week here. If you guys did not know, we have multiple podcasts here at the Whatnauts. In fact, Ignacio, you just recorded an episode of the Captain's Log with us.
My first Captain's Log.
Exactly, yeah, which is our weekly off-topic show. We just kind of go wherever the conversation takes us. It's a lot of fun. You guys can find all of that on our website, thewhatnauts.com, or your favorite podcasting platform of choice. Just type in the Whatnauts, and all of our shows will pop up right there. If you guys like what we do and you want to support, patreon.com/thewhatnauts is where you can support us for as little as $1 a month. We have some exclusive content on our $3 tier, and we also would like to give a big shout out to our Patreon supporters at the $5 tier. So thank you, Sam, for helping us out, keeping the mics on. We appreciate it tons.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Sam.
Right. Yeah. Cool. Well, let's get into the news of the week. All right. First up, I actually wanted to start with something that I did not have written down on the notes because it kind of came up right before we went live recording this.
Oh.
This is a rumor that I am seeing Game Rant report on.
Can you
this
drop a
is
link?
From Diego Perez. Yeah, let me see if I can get you a link on here. All of this stuff. Corey, what is your favorite game of all time in the meantime?
Favorite game of all time, I'm going to go for a little bit of a offshoot one. I'm going to say Infamous 2. That was...
Oh.
I absolutely adored it. So I love Infamous 1. It's one of those things where the PS3 was like my first me console, where it's like, you know, I had the GameCube growing up, and that's fine. But like the PS2 and the Xbox 360, or the PS2 and the Xbox, I should say, were shared amongst me and my brother. And the 360 was his console, and PS3 was my console. And so I saw an ad for Infamous 1 back in the Hollywood video days. I saw an ad in a magazine, and I was like, "Oh, I love this guy, this electricity boy." And so I bought it, loved it, didn't think anything else of it. And then they brought the second one out, and I just fell in love with it. I love the world. I love the platforming of it. The controls to this day are so freaking buttery smooth. Sucker Punch is right up there for me with the Bungies of the world, with the Rockstars of the world, where it's like they put out, you know, if a game comes out and it's Sucker Punch or Naughty Dog or Rockstar or whatever, I will at the very least give it a shot. And sometimes it'll be a Uncharted 4 where I freaking love it. And sometimes it'll be a Red Dead Redemption 2 where it's like, I can appreciate the game for what it is, but I'm like, it's not for me. But Infamous 2 is probably what I always credit as my game of all time for me.
Yeah, Infamous never gets the recognition it deserves. They were a great game.
Yeah,
and I wish they would have ported them to the PS4.
I know. I don't know what it was this gen that they kind of decided that they didn't need to, where it was they could have especially, and I would imagine it was because they weren't expecting this big of a gap between Infamous First Light and Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah.
But that would have very easily given Sucker Punch still some recognition out there and keep them in the conversation. So I'm actually not sure why they didn't throw it to like now that Sanzaru is purchased by, I believe it's Facebook, maybe somebody bought them up. But they could have, in the meantime, thrown it to Sanzaru, who did such a good job porting all the Sly games over to PS3.
Yeah.
Well, I tried to send you guys a link here. I'm on like multiple computers and my phone, and they're all of my computers are terrible. Let me know if that works.
Don't worry. What works?
It should be .com/PS5. Blah 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 blah. All that stuff there. I accidentally put an extra.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about now.
Yeah, but I don't. Just tell us Google later. What's the rumor?
So the rumor is that PlayStation 5 will let players try every game in the PlayStation Store for free.
Yeah, I read that one.
What do you guys think of this? Because I don't know if I believe it.
Yeah, me either.
I don't believe it, but I think it would be super cool. It's like when the PS4 was first announced, and they really heavily emphasized on the if the developer chooses it, you can download single player or multiplayer first.
And then they didn't do anything with that.
Nobody does that except for like Modern Warfare did it, where it was like, which one do you want to download first? But nobody else does that. So I wonder if that's another thing where it's like, hey, if the developer wants to put the first hour on the store, you can immediately launch into it. And with this generation's emphasis on convenience and everything, I wouldn't doubt that they're trying to go that route. But like you said, I don't necessarily believe it.
Yeah, it would for sure have to be. It would have to be a demo situation. I don't think you could. I don't think you would have every game be playable just like that, because you don't have. Not every game has a demo, so I don't see it being able to be implemented for every game. And also, the way the rumor goes is that you will be able to play it instantly, just right there and then, which would mean they would have to implement PS Now into it in a way, or any streaming.
Yeah, stream it, and that just wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't see them putting.
What if they did it on a first-party basis? So all of the first-party games that they have, would that be more plausible?
Yeah, but I mean, you still have the problem of having to stream it. I don't think they have PS Now, but I don't feel like they put that much work into it. So they would have to improve the system for it to be able to just be that seamless and to implement it into the store. Although news came out last year that they were working with, I think it was Xbox and xCloud.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So maybe that could have something to do with it. But for now, I won't get my hopes up.
I agree. I don't think it's something
like
to
you said,
really get your hopes up for.
I think a first-party solution would probably be a really good test bed for it. But yeah, the issue of being like, oh, anybody can try it immediately, but like your internet needs to be like 50 megs or higher. You know, like it would have to be. It would be a very Google Stadia situation where it's like, hey, this is really cool and you can stream it instantly. But, you know, some parts of the country where you just don't have internet that well, it's like, okay, you can't do it anymore. So it would be really cool, though. I think that would be an awesome future if you're like, but also the question rises, as I'm just going on a tangent, also the question rises of like, do you think that would be that much of an effective tool for people, like to be able to try the first 20 minutes of a game or whatever? Do you think that would put out that many more units where they would want to implement that across the whole platform?
That's kind of what I'm wondering too, because personally, if it was only a first party thing, I don't think I would need the demos.
Exactly.
I know that I want to play God of War 2. I know that I want Spider-Man 2. Like, I don't need the first 20 minutes for free.
Now, granted, I mean, I guess we are like a different subsect of the user base, but I just don't. I have a hard time imagining, you know, little Timmy is like, man, I only have $60 this month, but I don't know whether to buy God of War 2 or Horizon Zero Dawn 2. I don't know, let me try him. And then like that, like I don't know. I don't know if I believe that would sell too many units. And I feel like that would just put more, even just a little bit more hampering on the devs of like, all right, we approved your game. Now send us the first 20 minutes and we'll upload it. It's like, okay, well, how do I just chop the game off right here? So
best case scenario, this would be more of a glorified demo. So then there you would have to see the numbers of whether demos really work or not. And lately, you've seen the trend of people moving away from demos.
Yeah.
Compare the amount we have this generation with how many demos were last generation. It for sure has been declining.
Yeah, demos as a whole, I feel like since, you know, the PS1, PS2 days where it's like that was your taste of the game, have just steadily been going down since then. And it's like, I mean, Final Fantasy had the demo, and Final Fantasy 15 had that little weird demo where you played as young Noctis in like a weird playroom.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, let's move on from that one and go to the actual number one that we have here on our notes this week. We have updated release dates for The Last of Us 2 and Ghost of Tsushima. This is something I would normally put in our new and notable section, but I think this is pretty newsworthy, if you ask me. This is coming from Herman Holst on the PlayStation blog, and they write, amidst some disruptions to our working styles, we wanted to provide an update to PlayStation gamers who are eager to learn when our next exclusive titles will arrive on PlayStation 4. As we begin to see an ease in the global distribution environment, I am pleased to confirm that The Last of Us Part 2 will arrive on June 19th, and Ghost of Tsushima will follow on July 17th. So, Ignacio.
Yeah.
What do you think of this? Has Sony somehow miraculously solved shipping dates?
Yeah, that's the weird part. Because not that long ago, they came out and indefinitely postponed Last of Us Part 2. So it is kind of weird how just a few weeks later, they came out with a specific date,
Mhm.
that's a movie that far into the year. So I don't know what changed in this short time frame.
Like I'm wondering if they were in the works to solve it as it was happening, and that they just didn't have things finalized, and they weren't sure if it was actually going to work, and so it's just like, okay, let's delay this indefinitely, and then once we have whatever magical solution we came up with, once that works, it's just like, okay, here it is.
Yeah, it's so weird. I mean, everybody was saying it when it happened, but the word indefinitely is such a term that you just don't hear.
Yeah.
Where they'll like, oh, well, it'll be delayed, is like what people would normally say. But indefinitely is, I was among a lot of people where I was like, oh, wow, is this them like, skirting it back and just being like, all right, it's going to launch day and date with the PS5 at this point, and I'm so happy that it's not. But, like you said, it's very odd where they were like, we can't ship this thing. And weeks later, they were like, all right, we delayed it 3 weeks out, but somehow that 3-week cushion is giving them,
Right.
all the, ability to be able to ship this out. So it's so weird. I'm really glad that we're getting both of these games, and Ghosts being pushed back was just natural. You don't want to have your two big heavy hitters. But it is exciting because that means this summer is officially the summer of PlayStation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed. Like I'm kind of wondering if they had some kind of contract with a shipping company, like some third party, like, hey, can we throw you guys some extra money to like make sure this happens or something? I have no idea, but I am excited to play these games.
Yeah.
Agreed. Very excited. I pre-ordered both of the collector's editions, and I was like, man, now I'm like saving $400 or however much it is with both of them combined, and then now I'm like, okay, well, I'm still spending it. It's just like a month later than I thought.
Sounds good. Well, speaking of The Last of Us 2, this past week there were a bunch of leaks that happened, and finally the leakers have been identified. This one is coming from Patricia Hernandez at Polygon, who writes, in late April, Naughty Dog suffered an enormous leak that, among other things, seemed to spoil the ending of The Last of Us Part 2. One of the leading rumors at the time was that the source of the leak was a disgruntled Naughty Dog employee, but Sony has officially squashed that unfounded myth now. Quote, Sony Interactive Entertainment has identified the primary individuals responsible for the unauthorized release of The Last of Us 2 assets. They are not affiliated with Naughty Dog or Sony Interactive Entertainment. We are unable to comment further because the information is subject to an ongoing investigation. We are looking forward to when The Last of Us Part 2 will be in your hands and can't wait for you to enjoy the full experience on June 19th. Corey, what happened here? What was going on with this? You've been working from home too. You work for a game studio. What would this be like?
Man, I don't even know. I'm looking forward to inevitably if Sony doesn't say it, somebody coming out and being like, these, not giving names, but like, this is the tangential. Yeah, it was this guy.
Let's get him.
Like, I'm very interested to see what their relationship was and how in the world, because I haven't seen any leaks, but apparently, like, you see the console commands and stuff like that. So it's like they either got footage that somebody wasn't supposed to be sharing or whatever, because in game development you really never record your screen with console commands. You're always recording it when you want to show somebody something cool, and I'm really glad to hear that it wasn't somebody from inside, because that was the rumors forever, is that was some disgruntled employee, and it's like, man, that would suck, because I know exactly how they feel, where it's like, you're at home, and I don't know how seamless Naughty Dog got to transfer to working from home situations. We over at Certain Affinity were already kind of working towards that goal when it was announced in Austin that it would be mandatory that you would work from home. So it was really seamless for us, which I'm very glad about. But yeah, it is just insane, and I can't imagine at this point, like the project that I'm on at work, I've been working there for about a year and I don't know, 4 months now, and I've been on the same project the whole time, and it's like it would absolutely be heartbreaking if it even gets leaked to where somebody knows what the project is before you want it to, let alone seeing the ending and seeing all kinds of stuff. And it's like that's not how they intended at all for that to happen. So that's just kind of sucks. And I'm one of those people when it comes to this stuff, punish them to the extent of which they are punishable, man. Get it out.
So they use the words they say here in Sony's statement, they are not affiliated with Naughty Dog or Sony Interactive Entertainment. Mm-hmm. Does this mean family members too? Like they know that it was not like some angry mom or some kid being like, this game is going to be great. That's a possibility, man. The other thing that keeps popping into my head is they're saying that they weren't affiliated. So I wonder how carefully and legally they chose those words, because the other option is a game like Naughty Dog or a game like Last of Us 2. I can almost guarantee that other studios are working on it in some capacity from, just doing whatever's. Now, granted, I don't know if they are, creating assets for this. If they contract out a company to do asset creation for it, it's like, would they have access to the whole game? I don't know, but it'll be very interesting. That's why I want to hear them say, or hear somebody, I want to hear it come out who these people were, how in the world they get
specifically who it was.
Yeah, I want to know.
You want to know their address, where they live, where they work.
Yeah, I don't want anybody to get doxxed here, but I do want somebody to be like, yeah, it was this guy's girlfriend or whatever, because I don't know. It's weird. There have definitely been, things get leaked from family members before of some kid bragging to his friends on the playground or whatever. So yeah. I wouldn't be super surprised if it was something like that, of some kid filming his dad's computer when he wasn't looking or whatever. But I don't know. It's such a weird situation.
The only other thing I can think of is like maybe someone didn't notice that their VPN wasn't on and they got hacked. Yeah. Like that's absolutely a possibility somehow, some way.
Yeah. All that's over my head, but I saw somebody bring that up online, and I was like, yeah, that's true. Like if you know Neil Druckmann's address or whatever, like you'll try to figure it out. But I don't know. It's such a scummy thing to do. It's like one thing to ruin it for yourself, but then to share it, and then everybody else is also now getting it ruined as well. It's like, that sucks. And I have to like put on Twitter mutes and stuff. Just hate it.
Hopefully they can look at what happened and try to take the precautions for it not to happen again.
Yeah,
in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can almost guarantee you. I bet Naughty Dog, if they weren't already level 1 security, I bet they are now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Indeed. Well, let's see. Are either of you guys Travis Scott fans?
Would have to check. No.
I would take that as a no.
No.
Yeah, I think I've heard his name once or twice before this, but he just had a gigantic concert in Fortnite. This one is coming from Stella Chung at IGN, who writes, Fortnite's Travis Scott astronomical event saw 12.3 million players tuning in when it debuted on April 23rd, setting a new all-time concurrent player record that eclipsed the last in-game concert, which Marshmello headlined and brought in 10.7 million concurrent players in February of 2019, as well as the End event, arguably Fortnite's biggest gameplay-related event. The End, which saw Fortnite servers shut down while a black hole reset the world for Fortnite Chapter 2, only pulled in 6 million players.
Oh.
Only 6 million.
Right?
Yeah.
Only 6 million. So, did you guys get to watch this or catch some of it on YouTube?
Nope.
No?
I did get to see it on YouTube. It's one of those things that I have actually never touched Fortnite, but I am constantly amazed at just the amount of ingenuity that they put into that game, where they've taken it from just a battle royale, which in and of itself, shook up the landscape, but they took it from just this basic battle royale to now it is a social hangout for a lot of younger kids in America and globally. And it's like I really respect the way, you can say whatever you want about Epic as a whole or whatever, but I really like the way that they've taken Fortnite and continually evolved it to be this thing. And 12 million concurrents is just nuts. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it really is.
And I would love to know, how much of this was done before work at home, or, did they have to implement this completely from work at home? Because that's, something to be respected in and of itself. It's crazy. And there's tons and tons of people that put work into this, and it was really cool from the like screenshots and the video clips that I saw of players getting sucked into outer space and stuff. But it was wild. It's nuts.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it looked like they took most of the control away from the players, so you could section it off and make it a more like on rails experience. So that probably made it a little bit easier on the devs. But even so, it's crazy.
Yeah, it looked really neat. I am not a big Fortnite player. I think I've played in total maybe an hour and a half of Fortnite. But just watching the clips of this, it's so imaginative. It's so just like, this is mind-blowing. What will they think of next? Like, who's... like, I mean, we've already seen a hologram of Tupac. What's gonna happen next in Fortnite?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I have no idea, but it's just like there's so much that they can do, and it's gonna be incredibly popular. It's wild.
Yeah. Fortnite is probably going to be, like you mentioned, where the next hologram Tupac moment happens, where they're like, oh my God, they just got, I don't know, Michael Jackson popped out or whatever. And so I don't know.
Put him in a game.
Yeah, don't put him in the game. Yeah. Oh my God, I didn't even think about that. I'm so sorry.
Good stuff.
Yeah, no, it's incredible what Epic has done with Fortnite. Like you said, taking it from this battle royale game into so much more. It's basically just a playground for them to play on and do crazy stuff like this, a concert, or even the end of the universe.
Right.
It's incredible.
It's crazy to think about, because, the way that people talk about Halo 2 and Halo 3 now, where they're like, oh yeah, I'd come home and I would just play that all night and go to bed, go to school, come and do it again. Like, that's what people are going to talk about Fortnite, 20 years from now. They're going to be like, yeah, I would just come home, hop on Xbox Live and be on Fortnite all night. And it's like, yeah, and we're living it. And I'm like too fuddy-duddy to jump in myself.
Right.
You should try it. It's a fun game. Yeah, but 12.3 million players. I wonder if that big of a jump from something as big as the End event, if it has something to do with the current situation, if stay at home help. I guess it could. It probably did help. Like, kids are no longer in school. I would
imagine so.
Yeah.
that you just have so many, and then now you have the kids who like maybe didn't play it, but they do want to hang out with their friends, and so they'll download it, and it just and then you even have the people who only tune into Fortnite for the events. They have those players that just want to be a part of history, so they want to jump in and be like, oh my god, there's a Travis Scott concert happening in an hour, like I'll update Fortnite. So I don't know, it's Epic has continually proved themselves between like Unreal Tournament and everything like that, and even like if you want to go to Gears of War, and everything here in Fortnite, it is interesting to see what caliber that studio has, and it's pretty cool.
Indeed. Speaking of pretty cool, Assassin's Creed Valhalla has been officially revealed, and it's going to be coming holiday 2020. I just pulled some bullet points from an article on PC Gamer. Like I just mentioned, it's coming out holiday 2020. The first cinematic trailer is already available. You play as a character named Ivor, I believe is how you pronounce it. And you can be either male or female. It's going to be set in 9th century England in the year 873. And your clan has left Norway to settle in England. Sounds like you can build up a settlement. There's going to be like tattoo parlors, so you can customize your own character and stuff like that. Sounds neat. Yeah. Ignacio.
Yep.
Did you get a chance to check out this trailer?
Yeah, I checked out the trailer, and my only takeouts are that I still wonder why Ubisoft insists on calling these games Assassin's Creed. Like they have gone so far away from what made Assassin's Creed unique that at this point I think they should just span off of the series and make their own thing. Like if you watch the trailer, the only thing there that would suggest it's an Assassin's Creed game is the last shot where the character uses a hidden blade. Right. And that's not much of the trailer by itself. So yeah, I would rather Ubisoft create a spin-off out of what they've done recently with Assassin's Creed. That being said, I'm gonna give it a try. I hope it is a great game. I enjoyed what I played of Odyssey, but in the end, I never finished it. I dropped out of it because of things that I did. So hopefully, I can play this game and stick with it. I am interested. It sounds like an interesting setting and an interesting concept.
Yeah.
Like 9th century England sounds interesting, and what they showed there of the king talking about the Vikings and then then showing what the Vikings were doing on their own time, having their families and all that, and then showing them raiding all these towns and on all that. It sounds interesting. It sounds like an interesting story.
I'm right there hope with you.
I just hope the game makes me stick with it.
Yeah, it's so I'm a sucker for the Assassin's Creed games. However, I had a really rough relationship with Odyssey. It's a fantastic game by itself, but I thought it was a terrible Assassin's Creed game. But I'm skeptical with this one. But I know it's the same team that made Assassin's Creed Black Flag and Origins, and I really liked both of those ones.
You had me at Black Flag, and then you lost me at Origins.
Well, I didn't necessarily like the direction of making it more RPG like that they went with in Origins, but I still really liked it, and they still had a lot about the assassins and the Templar and just like how that whole story got started. Like that was amazing. And then it was with Odyssey that was like, yes, you guys have made a phenomenal, like, historical, mythological focused RPG, right? And it's amazing. But the main story had nothing to do with the assassins or the Templars. Like, there was literally nothing there. And so I'm skeptical of it because of that. Of just like, are they going to continue to go down that road? But then, yeah, you do see the assassins blade there at the end, and I'm like, ooh, I like that.
Ooh,
I'm glad it came back because it has been absent the past few games.
Yeah, and the fact that you can like build up a settlement, like that was stuff you could do in Brotherhood, and I was just like, I love this stuff.
Yeah, in a way.
And yeah, so I'm mixed. Corey, what about you?
You know, so I was just telling one of my friends the other day is I am a sucker for the lead up to Assassin's Creeds, but when it comes times for me to pull the trigger, I like never do. And so I actually, fun story, I have Odyssey on the way right now. I went ahead and got it. I got a copy off of eBay because I was like, man, I like really want to play it, but it's $60 digitally, and then you go to like Best Buy's website and it's like 50, and like GameStop's at like 40, I think.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's still too expensive because I saw it last fall on sale for like $15. So I'm really excited. You know, Greg Miller always talks about how good Odyssey is, and I've heard other people share his sentiments on the game.
Yeah.
So I really do want to give it a try. I haven't played an Assassin's Creed game since 3. Well, no, I take that back. I played Syndicate, and I freaking loved Syndicate.
Syndicate was good.
So, yeah,
Syndicate never grabbed me.
Really, I love the dynamic with like the two characters and everything, and I really dug the way that they did that. And so Odyssey being the Syndicate team, I was really into it. I just never got it. And it was the same thing with Origins, as I was like in the lead up to it, I freaking loved it. And then the way that they did this one with the Boss Logic stream, I was very much into it. I'm a sucker for watching people at the top of their craft work, and so I had that stream on in the background for a lot of the day, and I would just tune in at different increments. But yeah, no, I love, it's a lot like Final Fantasy. I love the aesthetic of the Assassin's Creed universe. I just almost never end up grabbing them, which is weird because it's right up my alley. Like third person action adventure is my jam. That's where I'm at. And
Did you play? Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, that I really enjoyed what I played. I've played 2, 3, and Syndicate, and I didn't finish 3. I really liked 2, and I really liked Syndicate. So,
yeah, I was gonna ask if you played the Ezio trilogy. To me, that's one of the best trilogies in game.
I need to go back because it finishes in Brotherhood, correct?
No, it's 2, Brotherhood, and Revelations.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I haven't played Brotherhood or Relations, but I heard really good things about Brotherhood.
Yeah.
So that's, the Assassin's Creed hype got me with this one. It's the same way that the Final Fantasy hype got me after playing 7. So, and we're in a really good year for stuff like that to happen because nothing's coming out for a little bit. And now with Last of Us at June 19th, I am very excited to fill the time with maybe some Odyssey and see if that grabs me. I hear it's really good to start, and I hear it's really good at the end, but I hear the middle is kind of grindy with side quests. So
yeah,
I'm interested. I'm tentative, but I'm interested.
It's like if you like big sprawling RPGs and stuff like that, I think you will like Odyssey. It's a lot of fun. You can basically do whatever you want.
Nice.
But yeah, that's the thing. Like for someone like me who is like, I love the story of Assassin's Creed, and they just kind of brushed it under the rug. It was just like, my heart.
My heart. Yeah, so. And at this point, like Assassin's Creed is such, for better or worse, a cash cow for them, where it's like, no matter how far they stray from it, they're like, okay, we're gonna get an Assassin's Creed game, every other year or something, and they'll pump it out. And like y'all were saying earlier, it'll be a really good game in its own right, but maybe not a great Assassin's Creed game. So it's kind of a sad thing to see if you are an Assassin's Creed fan. But maybe, like you were saying with the Hidden Blade, maybe that will be a thing. Just still cut off the third finger. Like I remember that was like a thing.
No, it has that was only in the first game, and they gave a lower reason as to why they stopped doing that.
Oh, okay.
Although, if it is in the 1800s, in theory, he should have to cut his finger.
Ooh.
Yeah, because that changes in the Renaissance
line would be.
Yeah. Da Vinci is the one who changes that, so.
Knowing nothing about it, I just really like to think of somebody that's like, okay, cool. I'm excited to join your Assassin's Club, and they're like, all right, you got to cut off your third finger, and you're like hell, I am.
The weird thing is that it's not even a ritual. It's like the Hidden Blade is designed in such a way that you have to cut your finger. And it wasn't until Da Vinci that they managed to have it not cut a finger,
not nick your finger.
Yeah, right. He's sitting there like, well, this is a terrible design. Let's fix that.
There has to be a better way to do this.
But I just can't quite put my finger on it. So let's see. Let's move on to the next one here. Number 5 on our list. Microsoft is going to be revealing games for Series X on a new Inside Xbox May 7th. This is coming from Tom Warren at The Verge, and they write, Microsoft is planning to show off some Xbox Series X gameplay next month. The software maker will hold a special Inside Xbox stream on May 7th with the focus squarely on games for the Xbox Series X. Microsoft's event will include next-gen gameplay from Microsoft's global developers partners, but Xbox Game Studio titles will be showcased at a later date. Are you guys excited for this? Yes, it is the third parties that they are showing off. Thank you, Ignacio.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your excitement level for this right now? Are you guys wanting to see some new games? Is this just like third party?
I'm so torn because Inside Xbox, as much as I love them, have done nothing to help my expectations be through the roof. Because every time that's happened with like Inside Xbox and stuff, it's always gone down, and we're always like, okay, well, we got to keep our expectations in check because it's just Inside Xbox. But also with the current climate and everything, this would be where we're going to see some heavy hitters. So I'm of two minds. I'm of like, okay, let's keep it. This is going to be like the indie stream, and it's going to be great, but it's going to be a solid stream, but it's not going to be anything huge. But then my other brain is like, man, we're going to finally see WB Montreal's Batman game.
Oh my God, I cannot wait.
We'll see about that.
I'm like, we're going to finally see all these things. I'm super excited. I probably wouldn't either at this point, but it's like, WB already said that they were going to do something at E3, and so maybe, and historically they liked to go with Xbox, I believe, I think.
No.
And so, or maybe not. Well,
no, because at least Arkham Knight was at the PlayStation event. At least Arkham Knight was PS4.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, because the latest State of Play was where they thought, or not the latest, but you know what I mean.
I don't know, maybe Shadow of Mordor has something to do with Xbox. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't know. But I'm crossing my fingers. We'll see something that'll just blow me out of the water. I'm still I know this wasn't the question, but I'm still so torn on the Series X as a whole, especially in the launch window where they've been up front and they're like, any game that works on Series X is going to work on the One X. So at that point, I'm like, okay, well then that's just telling me probably don't buy a Series X at launch. Wait until if there is ever a time where something only comes out on the Series X, because that's at a certain point, you're just getting a frame and asset upgrade. So it's like if Halo Infinite runs well on the One X, then I'll probably just keep the One X. But if they come out and like, oh man, like it runs, but it's like PUBG on the One S at launch, for people who are like, this is unplayable.
Ooh.
Like if it's something like that, then I would be, as a player, leaning towards grabbing a Series X. But as it is sense. Right now, I'm leaning like maybe not, but I'm still very, very excited to see what they have on offer at this Inside Xbox, but keeping limitations in check at the same time.
Yeah. I'm kind of on the opposite side of that. I did not have an Xbox this generation, so I've missed out on all of that stuff, and I want the like big new shiny thing. So I've been sold on an Xbox Series X for a long time now, and so I'm just being like, show me games. I want more games. So
it's exciting because once you get a Series X, I mean, you can play the Ori games and Gears 5 and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Or it's like when you are in the middle of this generation, you're like, man, Xbox has nothing. But looking back on it, you're like, okay, they didn't have a lot, but they had a few really good heavy hitters that coming in at the beginning of next gen, once you play the first 2 launch titles or whatever, you can go back and have a whole huge Game Pass library to play with.
Ignacio.
To me.
Oh, go ahead.
Is it a new question or the same question as before?
I was about to do a new question about this, but if you have something to say, go for that first, and I can.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm not as excited for this event as maybe I should. Maybe that has something to do with I'm more of a PS4 fan than an Xbox fan.
Sure.
Like Corey said, Inside Xbox doesn't have the best track record, to be honest. Like if this were even a state of play, I would be more excited than if it is an Inside Xbox. But that being said, the event is about third parties and next gen, so that in a way is exciting to see new stuff, even if it will obviously come to the PS5. So getting new games for next gen is always good.
Yes,
but I'm not as excited as maybe I should. I don't know.
See, I'm excited, but I'm not like ecstatic. I'm like, yes, give me more games. I want to see them. I want to see what they look like, because that'll be fantastic. But I think I have no idea what Microsoft's marketing strategy is, but I can imagine them having this like 3-beat marketing step, right? Where it's just like, hey, here's the third-party games. Tune in 2 weeks from now when we show you the first-party stuff, right? And then 2 weeks after that, we will let you know the price and when you can pre-order the Xbox Series X. And to me, that is just one step after another, getting me more and more excited. Being like, oh, come on, show me more.
Yeah, and you have to assume that them having third parties in this event, you have to assume that they will probably try to push Game Pass, and probably this will be a great opportunity for them if every game that they show they end up saying, hey, this game is coming to Game Pass when it comes out. Like, it is in a way a good strategy for them if they end up somehow integrating Game Pass into it. Like, even if we know these games are coming to the PlayStation or maybe PC, they at least have a way to show, hey, this is why you should come here, because you'll get these games as part of Game Pass, our great service with so many other games you can download right now.
Agreed, yeah. Game
Pass has done such wonders for Xbox, and like you're saying, if you get a lot of those, if they can somehow pull it off where a lot of these are day and date with Game Pass, or even if like just a couple of heavy hitters are day and date, it's like, oh yeah, you have to.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff. Well, let's move on to number 6 because this kind of relates. Number 6, Geoff Keighley announces Summer Game Fest to take place from May to August 2020. This is coming from Jeff's Twitter, and he writes, "Today, I'm proud to announce Summer Game Fest, a 4-month-long season of news events from all of your favorite game platforms and publishers. It's all the news you've been waiting for, but also in-game events, playable content, and demos of select titles, and a bunch of fun surprises. Summer Game Fest is not a singular show, but a whole season for events. The schedule hub at summergamefest.com will guide you through the next 4 months to make sure you don't miss a thing." And he has announced the Phase 1 lineup, which includes 2K, Activision, Bandai Namco, Bethesda, Blizzard, Bungie, CD Projekt, Extremes, EA, PlayStation, Private Division, Riot Games, Square Enix, Steam, WB, and Xbox. I don't know about
Take
you
it back
guys.
before this is where we see the Batman game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Well-
exactly what I'm thinking. So
Yeah.
it could happen at Microsoft's event,
Yeah, good.
because that is technically a part of the Summer Game Fest thing.
Oh.
Yeah, I see
I-
that technically that's where I have my problems.
Yeah, so it's an interesting thing because it's not a specific show. It's not a specific time. It's just like, hey, this amorphous period is the Summer Game Fest.
Yeah, the only problem I have with this is that I don't know exactly what it is. Like, supposedly the Xbox event and the one that will come after, and if the rumor PlayStation event comes out on June, they will all fall into this Summer Game Fest in a way.
Mhm.
So I wonder how much of this is Keighley making it happen, or how much is it just Keighley saying that they are part of this thing? Because I could just easily pick a random set of months and say, hey, this is the super duper game fest, and
Super
if
duper, you say?
and if
Come
a
on.
games events end up coming out or happening in the time frame, like I didn't make anything happen, but they ended up falling into that.
Yeah.
I
So
wonder how much of it is Keighley doing something, and how much is Keighley just going up to them and saying, "Hey, can we say it is a part of this 4-month event?"
I think that's kind of what he's doing. Like I think
Mm-hmm.
he sees the value in a specific time every year where the games industry kind of comes together and celebrates all of the new stuff, all of these amazing games. Like, we don't know what E3 will look like in the future, but I think when E3 went down, Geoff Keighley saw an opportunity. I think IGN saw a similar thing of like, hey, we can do our Summer of Gaming thing.
Yeah, GameSpot too.
Yeah, and so like I think a lot of people had a similar idea in the sense that, hey, there is value in just a big celebration. And I think what Geoff Keighley is trying to do is just like, hey, let's have an all-encompassing branding on this stuff.
Yeah, see, I wonder how much of this is an event and how much is it just giving a name to a set of months.
Yeah, that's been my feeling about the whole thing as well, where it's been like, All right, how much of this was already going to happen? Like you were exactly saying, how much of it was already going to happen, and Geoff Keighley was just like, "All right, like I'll give you like $20, and you put your
Mr.
logo on
Jackson
Just
over
of this-
here says
just over
that
here.
you should.
and it's like it's so weird because like WB was very frank that they were going to do something, and so I wonder if they already had their plan, and Geoff Keighley was like, all right. And then the same thing with Digital Extremes with Warframe. It's like they always announce something around E3, so it's
Yeah.
so many, it's so much of that. And like you said, it's kind of them coming together and putting a name to it.
Mhm.
We'll see
Exactly.
if it pans out and it works out, because I totally agree. Where it's like, this is you're telling me video game news is going to happen sometime in the next 4 months. Like, thanks, man.
No way.
Yeah,
It's just-
I think what he's doing is just taking all of these events, which can seem like separate, disparate events, but if you kind of organize them under the same umbrella, then that could be pretty neat. And if it works, maybe next year it's like, hey, it's only 3 months. Let's tighten it up some.
Yeah. How insulting is it going to be next year when they're like, E3 is a part of the Summer Game Fest?
Good God.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, and I just wonder how much it being a summer game fest instead of being just 4 months in the year, how much it will add, how much more stuff we'll see, if any.
Yeah, is anybody pressured to put out a demo or put out a trailer because the Summer Game Fest is happening, or is this just what we were gonna get anyway?
Yeah.
I mean, he did do that, like, I don't remember what it was called, but at the Game Awards, Geoff Keighley announced, he's like, hey, you guys can go play all of these demos online right now.
Did that. That was awesome. Yeah, I feel like that
might just be another round of that. Of like, hey, here's.
Yeah, but that was him going and taking this game and making them available to people. That's adding something that we wouldn't have gotten.
Like, I think what I'm trying to get at is that it's a mix of both. Like, I think he is organizing everything under one umbrella, but then also using his influence to be like, hey, can you guys help me out and make a demo that we can put out at this time? So
yeah, I can see
we'll
that.
see.
You can see it being a way of, I don't know, in a way pressuring people into giving something.
Oh, this is an awfully nice conference. It'd be a shame if anything happened to it.
Hey, we've been telling all these people that they would get something. It would be a shame if you came out and said they won't get anything.
Who knows? Speaking of not getting anything, let's move on to number 7 here, which is Nintendo reportedly delays their June Direct. This is the one that they probably would have had near E3. This is coming from Jeff Grubb at VentureBeat, who writes, Nintendo is telling partner developers it is not going to hold one of its Nintendo Direct video events in June. The publisher has had a June Direct to correspond with E3 every year since 2013, and before that it held annual stage presentations, but complications brought about from Japan's work from home order as part of its attempts to mitigate COVID-19 are forcing Nintendo to push back its schedule. Corey, what do you think about the continued lack of Nintendo news here?
It's sad, but it's kind of expected with everything that's going around. I don't blame anybody for doing this, because it's really been a tough time for a lot of developers to adapt and change to this work from home environment. And so I don't blame them. I do wonder, was it just like, oh man, we had 3 games planned and, none of them were able to scrounge together a trailer now, or, it's something as simple as capturing trailer footage is so difficult now because you're like, I can't just go down to the playtest area and capture anymore. I have to capture from my build at home, and I don't have the QA guys here, to help me troubleshoot, So I would love to know what's going on. We probably never will. We'll probably hear from them in July or August, and see what their new direct is past that. But it's like, I think it was Smash Bros or whatever that right when this all started, they were like, yeah, we've pretty much halted all DLC work. Mm-hmm. Like, so it doesn't sound like it's too far from the cuckoo's nest to hear the news.
Exactly.
Yeah, and speaking of Smash Bros.
Go ahead.
I was going to say that speaking of Smash Bros, the mini direct, they came out and said that in June we would get information about the DLC. How many these changes they done?
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good point. Yeah. They were like, it's an ARMS character. You'll hear more later.
A ARMS character is coming.
Yeah.
We won't tell you which one, but tune in June.
Interesting. I also wouldn't put it past Nintendo for it to be a quality thing. Just like, hey, we don't want to just have it be like a Skype call and we record that and that's what you get as a direct. I think people would be understanding, but it was like I have the feeling it's also quality of just like, we want it to be incredibly polished. Here is this presentation, it looks stellar, right?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I hadn't even thought of that, but where everybody else is putting out stuff and they're adapting and they're just from a Logitech webcam in their home. But Nintendo, that actually really fits Nintendo's MO, that they're like, no, we are going to film this professionally when this is all over, and that's when they're going to get news.
Yeah, I don't know how much.
That would make sense.
Because it's not like Nintendo Directs have a heavy amount of in-person videos in there.
Yeah.
You'll see one person there just in a white void.
Yep.
But I wonder if this might have something to do with, and it's something I feared when E3 got cancelled, is that Nintendo just doesn't see any reason as to why stick to June. Whereas maybe before, since it was E3, they saw a reason to
Summer Game
be there.
Fest, man.
The Summer Game Fest, it's 4 months now. So,
oh my gosh,
let's do it in June. So that might be a reason as to why they don't see any reason or value to stick to June now. And
indeed,
what's interesting of this is that we know nothing concrete about upcoming Nintendo games.
Yeah,
at most we know. Okay, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 is gonna come out at some point, who knows when, or Metroid Prime 4, but we know nothing solid about the rest of the year, or even the years to come. Like maybe the Pokemon DLC, but that would be. So now we're in this weird space where there's nothing for Nintendo right now. I wonder if this having such a big void left because of what's happening now, I wonder if this will make them change their strategy that they've been going on for years now of telling you, say, come February or March, we know nothing about the rest of the year, and then they come and they tell you what's coming out later. I wonder if this will make them change that and maybe try and tell you about what's on the years to come instead of just when we're at the beginning of the year.
I wonder if Metroid Prime 4 is a great example. I wonder if that kind of spurned them, where they announced it with the PNG image, and then it came out later that they were like, oh yeah, we really just didn't like the build quality, and so we gave it back to retro. And so I don't, the same way that Sony, it feels like, has kind of been spurned about announcing release dates and showing things really early, and then now they refuse to tell you a release date until it's like concrete.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they have something like that where they're just afraid to show you what next year's offering is. But I don't know. You have a really good point that we are, 7 months from Christmas, and I have no clue what is happening in the 7 months of Nintendo until then.
Yeah. It's wild times we live in right now.
Mm-hmm.
But that about does it for our news section. So let's move on to our new and notable. Okay, first up, Dreams on the PlayStation 4 now has a free demo that you guys can check out. From what I understand, it's kind of a limited version. Like it's curated what things you can check out.
That's cool.
In there.
So when I saw the news, what came to my mind is, how are they doing this? Is it a curated list?
It seems like it's curated, and then it's like the start of their single player campaign thing.
Oh, yeah.
So good stuff. But if you guys were interested in checking it out, you guys can now do so for free. Next up, Streets of Rage 4 is now available. This one kind of completely missed my radar last week, but I saw a lot of people talking about this one. Were either of you interested in this game?
Nope.
I've never played beat 'em ups really, but River City Girls, I think was last year, really interested me for some reason. I never got to pick it up, but this game, Street Race 4, kind of came out of nowhere, and they were like, all right, it's out like very soon.
Yeah, and it's getting good reviews.
Yeah, it's getting good reviews, and people are like, oh, this is a really cool like return to form for beat 'em ups and everything. And this is a really good. I've heard nothing but praise for it, and so it's like, it's not really my type of game. Like, I'd probably buy River City Girls before I bought this one, but I am happy that it's out there, and I'm happy that this genre that doesn't get that much love, in all honesty, has a new game to kind of chew on for a little bit.
Yeah, no, same here. I'm not a big fan of beat 'em ups, and that might have something to do with a generational thing. Like, growing up, beat 'em ups weren't really a thing. Whereas, say, in the 80s or early 90s, beat 'em ups were a huge thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's really it's definitely a sign of the arcade times.
Yeah,
and like you said, it's just growing up. I never played them, so I don't know. But they do look cool. I love watching gameplay, and I love the aesthetic of these guys.
Indeed. Next up, we have the PlayStation Plus games for this month. First up, we have Cities Skylines, and we also have Farming Simulator 19. So if you are a PlayStation Plus subscriber, you can pick up both of those games for free, and they are booing in the background.
The crowd is booing.
Yeah.
Weird combination.
It's a weird combination. It sucks that a lot of people don't like them, but that's also kind of bound to happen every once in a while. It's like I feel strange complaining, being like, this sucks, these are terrible, no one wants these, when they've given us like almost the entirety of the Uncharted games for free this past month. They gave us Journey. Like we've had some really great things, but even on some of the not so great months, you usually have at least one thing that I think is generally considered like, oh yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, for one, what makes it bad, this lineup, is that from what I've heard, City Skylines doesn't even run well on the PS4.
Oh man.
So that by itself, that makes it even worse. But on the other hand, I don't think the PS Plus lineup has been that good this generation. Like, I mean, like you said, there have been some good games here and there, but overall, even I would say the internet's opinion is also that the PS Plus lineup isn't that good that often.
Sure. Yeah.
Compared to even PS3, where I would say there was a higher quality and you would see better games come out. And yeah, and the thing that makes it even worse is that before they announced this, I saw a rumor where they said that it was going to be Dying Light and Dark Souls remastered.
Yeah, I saw that
thinking
too.
we were going to get that, and then seeing this, that made it so much worse.
Mm-hmm.
Wild. But we also have the games with gold for Xbox. The first of which is V-Rally 4. Next up, we have Warhammer 40,000 Inquisitor Martyr. Sounds like a Kingdom Hearts title.
It's called Kingdom Hearts.
Hey, I love Kingdom Hearts. I'm a huge Kingdom Hearts fan. Then we also have Sensible World of Soccer and Overlord 2 available on the Xbox 360 for games with gold as well. So there you go.
Honestly,
pick those up.
Not a much better list, you know.
Yeah, but at least there's 4.
That's right. Yeah, at least they do give you where you have an Xbox One and a 360 game for the first 15 days, and they whatever. So I don't know. It's interesting.
It is indeed. But that's about it for new and notable. Last but not least, let's get into our upper runners. First up, the Stadia Connect. Now, last week, Ignacio and I kind of talked about this because we had a change in our recording schedule, and we ended up recording on Tuesday night after it happened. But I put this in the upper runners because I wanted to see if Corey had thoughts on this or Stadia in general.
Man, I'm just constantly in the I don't know who Stadia is for camp where it's like I hear it all the time where you're this is for families that don't have access to a game console or a gaming PC. And it's like, well, naturally the inclination for that is like, who is going to have the internet to run gaming consistently, but not, have a gaming rig already? And it's just, and a lot of people are like, oh, well, then it's for travelers. And it's like, okay, well, hotel Wi-Fi is notoriously horrible. So like, it's just, it's really cool. I live in a world where I think xCloud is a very cool like thing that I'm hoping is going to change how I play things, where I can play it at home. If I go to the office and I'm rendering out a video or something, I can pull it up on my phone and resume right where I am. But the problem with Stadia's promises and everything is, okay, I just bought Assassin's Creed Odyssey is a perfect example on my Xbox. So I'll play it on my Xbox, and then whatever in a world where we still go to work, I go to work, pull it up, but Stadia is a totally different platform with different save states. So you have to be committed to the ecosystem, but that ecosystem's whole thing is to be like interconnected to other ecosystems, but those don't mix. So it's so weird. And then the poor Stadia Connect, I watched Kind of Funny do their reacts to it, and I feel bad for it because they just don't have anything to show. But at the same point, like everybody's saying, just make a PlayStation blog or just upload a YouTube video without any pomp and circumstance, and let it be a thing, but don't make it like, this is our next big lineup of games. And then in the lineup show, like, oh, this fall, you're going to get to play last fall's games.
Yeah.
Like, okay, man. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm excited, and I'm really glad that Google likes to do this, where they like to push the technology forward and let other people pick up the torch and really do it. And as much as I hate to say it, I can kind of see Stadia being one of those things where we look back on it and it's like, Google really pushed Microsoft and Sony to do this, and now we have this awesome streaming solution. And like I said, xCloud is awesome, and like you alluded to at the very towards the beginning, Sony kind of hooking up with xCloud to really beef up PlayStation Now, I think would be really cool, and it's really going to help the convenience and portability of gaming. And once, I haven't gotten invited to it yet, but the fact that the xCloud beta is already on iOS and Stadia has been out for months and also is not on iOS is nuts. It's kind of weird.
Indeed. I saw one person make a tweet about the Stadia Connect. It fell so flat that no one was complaining. It was just completely ignored.
They're just you're not even worth the tweet.
Yeah. To me, what sucks the most is that Google could very easily eat the lunch of any other streaming service many times over because it's Google.
Easily.
We take into granted YouTube and what YouTube does for video streaming. We take that for granted. Try to use any other video streaming service. YouTube blows them so many times over. I wish that Google would do what it did with video streaming and put that into game streaming. I wish they would do that, but they won't. I don't know why they won't. They just threw Stadia out there, out in the wild, and see if it sticks or if it doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. And I wish they would have.
To play devil's advocate, YouTube back when it first launched wasn't that great.
Yeah, but that isn't an excuse. Saying when it came out, it's not when it came out, it's now. And it's many years after that. It isn't an excuse.
Stadia is its own new thing. So for them to put it out and it not be great, and then who knows, maybe 5 years from now, Stadia is finally where it should be, then who knows? I mean, we just don't know. But
once we start getting what I kind of wish they would have done is they would have, because it feels like they entered the gaming space without really knowing what they were doing, which is fine. But what I personally think they should have done is, created that studio and Shannon Studstill. Yeah. Pick up talent like Shannon, a year or two ago, and have them start working on a game a year or two ago. And obviously, hindsight's 2020, and you really can't play that game. But do it that route. But it feels like they just kind of rushed this service out to beat xCloud to market. And then they're like, "But don't worry, guys, we just started making a game." And everybody in the gaming community knows that pre-production, you're looking at, okay, we'll get a game in 3 years from now,
maybe.
Which, exactly. And if Shannon brings any of that, I can't even think of anybody. Santa Monica. If Shannon brings that Santa Monica magic, it may, like you said, maybe 3 years, and we'll get a killer game. But right now, it's all the games you've already played. Streaming, you have to start all over again because it's a different save state and a different platform, and it's, I don't know. But like I said, they definitely can grow.
Yeah, until they start bringing new games they can take with other consoles. Until then, they won't be able to compete with PS4 or PS5 and Xbox Series X.
Totally.
Why?
Agreed.
They just announced that you'll be able to play Jedi Fallen Order. I already played that game.
Yeah, forever ago.
It will come out a year after.
Games from 2 years ago. Join us on Stadia.
They wasted time on Doom. Doom already just came out. Why are you telling us about Doom?
I felt so bad for Doom because that was they hitched all their wagons on Doom at launch, and then it got delayed, and it just hasn't seemed like Stadia's been able to stand up on their own since then.
So Doom still hasn't come out on Stadia, has it?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah,
Like, jeez.
why was it supposed to come out day and day on Stadia and now after that didn't?
I don't know. It's so weird because it's like if they were going to, if we lived in the timeline where Eternal still came out last fall, like it was originally going to, were they going to come out day and date at that point? Because I mean, at this point, you would think no, because it got delayed and it still hasn't come out. So I don't know. It's the whole thing, and I feel bad, but like you said, at the same point, I shouldn't feel bad because we're talking about Google, and that is like they have the money to create whatever they want. So I don't know. It's very, very interesting.
Last but not least, Evo 2020 has been canceled due to concerns over COVID-19. I'm not a big like fighting game fan person. That's what this one is, right? That's what Evo is. I thought so. But...
yeah, and it wasn't just canceled. They announced a digital event.
Oh, they did. I did not catch that part. So okay, well, at least they have that then.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see Evo being done online, like having all these games to play them online, like Smash Bros Ultimate. I wonder how that will end up.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't have that great an internet connection already. I can't imagine putting that's gonna be rough. An intense fighting tournament on top of that.
It would be interesting seeing pros kind of play like that.
Yeah, there's gonna have to like stare at it as the screen like tries to catch up to them, and they're like, "God damn it, Nintendo!"
Yeah.
Oh well.
It's another one of those sucky things, but COVID has forced people to adapt.
Indeed. That pretty much wraps us up for our show. Corey, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you all so much for having me. Like I said, I'm really happy that somebody took me up on the offer and had me come on and everything, and it's been super fun. Normally, any podcast appearances are normally just like talking about me, so I like talking about the gaming news landscape and everything. It's very fun.
Well, we like to wrap things up on the podcast by asking what you're excited for this next week. Are you gonna be diving into a new game, new TV show? Who knows what? What are you excited for this next week?
So me personally, as soon as we wrap up here, I am finishing for the first time ever the Avatar Last Airbender series. So that's I made it to the last episode, and I clicked on the last episode, and it's an hour and a half, and I was like, this is awesome. So I'm excited to do that. And then, like I mentioned earlier, I have Odyssey on the way, so I'll jump into that. And since I have Final Fantasy VI plugging away on my Vita, I'll be doing that in the meantime as well. So a bunch of juggling things, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, that's some good things. Yeah, as someone who grew up as someone who grew up watching Avatar as it came out as a kid, it's so weird seeing all these people rewatching Avatar.
Get back into it now. Yeah,
so much less than I thought I had, because I watched it as it was coming out too, and I was like in love with the show. And when Blessing from Kinda Funny was talking about that he had just never seen it, period, I was like, that's crazy, but I want to rewatch it. And I rewatched it, and it turns out, I don't know how this happens as a kid, because I just watched it as it like on Nickelodeon. I had only seen the first book of Water.
Really?
I got to Earth, and they introduced the character of Toph and everything, and I'm like, this girl is a badass. I've never seen any of this. And it's fantastic. I knew I really liked this show. I had loved Water. I guess I can just say Water, but growing up. But it's like, it's such a fantastic show. And it really does take like what I loved about Dragon Ball, like the really cool fights and the really cool characters and everything, and turns it up to 11. And it's been fascinating. I'm trying to like pay attention to the directors and everything like that. And there's only like 3 directors for the entire series. They just trade off episodes for the most part.
Huh?
Indeed. Ignacio, what are you excited to dive into this week?
Well, now that I finished 7 Remake, I've been debating on what should I play next. Like, I have the original 7 on the Switch, so I'm gonna keep going at it. But on my main console, I've been thinking about going and playing Far Cry 3.
Okay.
I've been a fan of Far Cry 4 and the newer one, but I never played 3. And right now I'm having that want to try it out. So maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll try some missions of 7 Remake on hard mode. I already did the first one.
Nice.
So maybe I'll do some of that.
Sounds good.
Cool.
I've
Yeah,
never
Far Cry 3 is
played
awesome.
a Far Cry game.
Really?
Mm-mm.
What?
They're pretty good.
I just
Kyle.
like happen to miss them, and yeah, never
Kyle.
played one.
Come on.
I feel like they do such a good job of establishing that, like, well, at least 3 started the trend where it's like everybody's got a really good villain to it, and so I really enjoy that. And kind of like the Saints Row games, as the franchise progresses in entries, they just get crazier and crazier,
Yeah, for sure.
and it's brilliant.
Yep.
Sounds good. This week, I am excited to dive back into Resident Evil 2. Hopefully, that won't take too much longer. I looked it up online. It looked like it took like 10 hours to beat.
Yeah, no,
Ish.
for sure. I would say you'll probably have beaten both campaigns by next week.
Yeah.
Okay. Good stuff.
It isn't.
Good stuff.
It isn't long.
Because that's
Sure, it isn't long.
hoping to play this one and then eventually pick up Resident Evil 3 on sale at some point this year. We'll see. I like my mindset has been like with this whole COVID-19 thing, we're not getting very many games.
Yeah.
So I kind of need to play the ones that will be in the conversation at the end of the year. So we'll see.
Then go back and play Kakarot.
Yeah, still need to play Kakarot. So
For sure, we'll be talking about it on the Game of the Year discussion.
absolutely, absolutely. Sounds good. Well, Corey, where can people find you on the internet?
So you can find me. Pretty much everything I post is going to be over on Twitter at twitter.com/Corey Cudney. And like I said, I am looking into guests to bring on to the Just an Editor podcast. It's so far season 1. It was going to be. I kind of made it a limited series podcast because I just stopped finding guests. And it's like, once you bring on like 4 editors, like Hollywood editors that will reply to you, you just like get down and you're like, well, nobody else replies because you have to go through their agents, and it's like a whole thing. And it's like not a world that I'm used to either. So I'm in the process of doing that. But hit me up on Twitter, and that is probably the easiest way to find me. And you can see what our company's doing over at Certain Affinity on Twitter too. We're working on some cool stuff.
Sounds good. Ignacio, how about you? Where can the people find you?
Well, people can find me on Twitter at Ignacio Rojas B. That's IGNACIOROJSB. It's my name.
Cool. You guys can find me online at YoKyleSpringer on Twitter and Instagram. If you guys want to stay up to date with this show or any of our podcasts, we are at the Whatnauts on Twitter. Go like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, tell a foe, sell your soul, do whatever you have to go to do to share the stuff on social media.
You don't need a soul. Souls are
Who
Exactly.
needs one?
Yeah.
Who needs one?
But with that being said, thank you for tuning in. This has been episode 24 of Crossplay. We will see you guys next time. Bye.
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 thank you so much for checking out our podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Let us know in the comments below if you guys think WB is going to announce their new Batman game sometime in the summer Games Fest. We will see. In the meantime, go subscribe to our channel, which is right up here in that corner, and go watch one of our other videos right down there, because we got plenty more where that came from. That being said, we will see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.